Hello, welcome to Michelle Sews Again. I'm Michelle. Today I'm going to show you how I've made some resin buttons. If that sounds interesting to you, then please stay tuned. He's got one of my scraps. Okay, so I filmed a little bit of a make along, if you will. It's not a tutorial. I just take you along with me as I make mine. If you've been following me for a while, then you know when I decide to learn something new, I kind of just jump in. I might watch a few videos or something and kind of get the gist of how it works. But then I just kind of jump in because that's how I learn, is just getting in there and doing, and then watching more videos to course correct if I need to. So that's my process. You may have a different process, and that's totally fine. What I'm going to do right now is just show you the things that I used, the materials that I needed, and then I'll pop in the footage. All right, so the first thing that I have is this Nick Pro resin. It is a 2-part resin. We've got part A, that's the resin, and part B, that's the hardener. And you're always gonna do a 1-to-1 ratio no matter how much you're gonna make. I have these disposable plastic cups that I use to do the mixing in, and then I have these disposable plastic spoons. I used this orchid color mica powder to mix in for the color. I have this plastic measuring cup that actually came with the resin, and I've just marked it because this is actually the perfect amount for making this set of buttons. So this is the next thing that I have, and it is a button mold that I got from Etsy. I will link in the description box if you're interested. These are 5/8 inch buttons. Then I've got these multicolored glass. It's crushed glass basically. I ordered this, I believe, off Amazon, and you can see it's literally just crushed glass. Then I've got this scraper that I use, and you'll see how I use that. And then this is just a couple of silicone mats that I do, that I lay down to do the resin on top of, so that it clings to that and not my cutting mat on my sewing table. So that's it as far as materials go. So now let's jump into the video. Okay, so we're all cleaned up here. So now I'm just gonna pour my resin into my measuring cup. I have a little plastic spoon here to get it all out. I'm pretty sure that people that do this for a living use a scale to measure their liquids out. I'm not that fancy. Okay, I just went and got a clean spoon. It doesn't really take very much of the mica to get a pretty saturated color, so I'm not using too much. Then you just mix it. It says to mix it for like 2 minutes. I've never done that, and I haven't had bubbles. I've had good, but I mean, you do you. You follow the directions. I'm not a direction kind of a person. If I was having trouble, then I would follow the directions, but I haven't had any issues with my resin having bubbles or anything like that. So, and I've gotten a pretty good mixture. Look at the color. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I'm just going to spoon the resin into the mold. I'm just putting a little bit because I want to put the colored glass. So I'm going to let this, I'm going to put a smidge here. Then I'm going to kind of level it out a little bit. Then I'll put my glass, and then I'll put another layer on the top. And I want the resin to be in an even layer because I don't want the beads or the glass to be on the top layer because I don't want it to be textured. So now I'm just going to sprinkle the glass beads in. Now I'll put another layer of resin on the top. I hope that the glass beads show through this resin. Okay, so the thing that I've learned after doing this a few times is in order for the button holes to come through, I need to smooth this out so that it's pretty flat on top. So I'm going to do that now. This scraper came with, I think it came with the epoxy, if I remember correctly. It came with one of the things that I bought, whether it was the epoxy or one of the micas. I'm pretty sure it came with the epoxy though. And so now I'm just going to let this cure. The extra that fell, I'm working on top of a silicone mat, and so after this cures, this excess just peels right off. And the same goes true for the measuring cup. Once it cures, I can just like peel it right out of the measuring cup. I didn't realize that when I first started, and I thought I was going to have to pour the liquid epoxy into the trash, and I don't have to do that. I can let it cure, and then it's not making a mess anywhere. So I'm gonna let this cure for 48 hours, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so now the buttons are cured. I showed them to you in my Friday sews, I think. But I think they came out really pretty. I don't know if that's showing very well because I'm getting a glare from the sun, but it's this really beautiful orchid color purple. The crushed glass shows through really pretty. You can use whatever amount of mica that you want. In fact, next time I might use a little bit less than what I used because I think a more translucent button would be so pretty. This one, the sun shines through it, but it's still pretty, you know, I'm not going to say dark, but I was thinking like a nice softer kind of orchid color would be really pretty. I am going to use these buttons when I make my Norma, and I'm going to put them on top of this gauze that I'm going to use. It's this gorgeous like blue gauze, and I think these purple buttons are going to be so gorgeous on there. So yeah, so that mold makes 6 buttons, and I have several more molds that I bought in a set off of Etsy. Like I said, I will link. They weren't a set. I'm sorry. I did buy them all separately from the same seller. And I've shown these before, but I love these buttons. It's a set of 4. They're all the same size, but they all have a different texture on them. These buttons I think are really cute, but I don't like the fact that the top of the button has texture just because of the way the mold is. But they're really pretty, like flower shaped buttons, and you can get a whole set. What I have found really difficult on anywhere that you can find button molds is that there are tons of molds that have lots of different shapes and sizes. It's difficult to find molds that have all the same size in one mold, so that you can make a set of buttons. So I happened to find these, and I'm excited about that. But there's, and then I have one for little tiny buttons. I'm probably never going to use this. I never use buttons that size, so I don't know why I bought that. I probably didn't realize what size they were. And then I have these 3 molds that are all individual, which I don't know how often I only need one button, and the fact that these take 48 hours to cure, if I needed more than one button and I wanted the same pattern, then it would take me you know, a week to make a set of buttons. So this is one button that I have. This is one texture. This is another texture. I love this one. I wish I could find a set of all of that. I have recently ordered some more that are just standard button shapes, and I figure I'll put all the interest in the button with whatever color I make it, whatever additives I put in. So that is how I made these resin buttons. I will tell you that I tried UV resin when I was still in Miami. That is much quicker. It only takes 60 seconds to cure under a UV lamp, which is the same kind of lamp you use if you're getting gel nails. The problem with that is I feel like the end result isn't as good, at least in my experience. Maybe I wasn't curing it long enough. I did end up curing mine for probably up to 2 minutes, if not 3. You have to, if you're using UV, it's one part. So there's no mixing involved, which was another reason I wanted to start with that, because I thought it would be easier. I thought the mixing was going to be more complicated than it was, and it's like super easy. The other thing is your molds have to be clear, because you've got to be able to cure them with the lamp from both the top and the bottom. So the UV light has to get through the bottom of the mold. So a lot of button molds are not clear. So that was difficult to find. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you want to start out with the UV. I happen to already have a UV lamp because I had a gel nail kit a long time ago. But if you're doing the UV, I can't remember if the UV resin is less expensive or not, but then you still have to buy the lamp and you have to find special molds. I am thinking about venturing into creating my own molds, but we'll see about that. We'll see. Anyway, so here is the end result. Oh, what I didn't say, on the UV resin buttons, they don't come out as smooth. I feel like I have to sand them. With these buttons, as long as I am scraping off the excess before it cures, I don't have any sanding to do. These all came out great. All my buttonholes are clean all the way through. Yeah, and the buttons are smooth. There's no sanding required. And yeah, so those are my 6 buttons. They kind of look good with this fabric too, don't they? All right. That was my button making process. I will do another one of these the next time I make buttons if you're interested, because I think I'll be making a lot of buttons, especially when I get those new button molds, because they're more standard size. And I bought 2, so 2 of the molds, all 3 of the molds that I bought have 4 buttons that are all equal shape and size. I bought 2 of each of the round buttons and only 1 of the set of the heart buttons. So I'll pop pictures of what those look like up here, and link to the Etsy shop in the description box. So I will also link to the resin kit. The resin kit came with the resin. It came with a more permanent like plastic mixing cup. It came with this measuring cup. It came with some like rubber mixing sticks. It came with a whole bunch of gloves. Oh my God, I can't think. It came with a cover, you know, a table cover, so you don't get anything on your table. I do recommend wearing the gloves, especially when you're pouring into your molds, because it does get like slimy on your fingers. If you do happen to get it on your hands, then just use rubbing alcohol to get it off and you'll be fine. If it gets where you definitely want to work on like a silicone mat or something, or on some kind of a surface where the resin won't permanently stick, and it'll just scrape right off. Like you saw, I had excess that fell out of my button mold after I scraped it off onto the mat, it just peels right up. That's what the benefit of the silicone mat is for. So let me know your thoughts. Are you gonna make some resin buttons? I got a lot of messages from people that are interested in doing this. I'm telling you, watch a couple of videos, but it's really, really not complicated. I don't think I'll venture into jewelry making, but you never know. You never know. Yeah, let me know if you've made buttons, if you're interested in making buttons, what you thought of these buttons. Wherever you are, I hope the weather's amazing. I hope you're able to get some sewing in, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.